Hey there, welcome to Change Coach Conversations. This is our second conversation. So if you missed the first one, just to give you a little context, in addition to my weekly Ask Amy sessions on Mondays, I'm going to be doing Facebook Lives on Wednesdays for a while now, specifically for coaches and practitioners and therapists and people who aren't any of those things, but maybe kind of want to be at some point. And really coming from this new paradigm. So people who are already or want to be helping people in any way, supporting people, sharing this understanding, this new paradigm that I share. So conversation number one was about the one thing that can help any person, any client with any issue. You can see that on the Facebook page or on YouTube. And today's conversation is a little different, taking a little different turn. This one is, can I really make a living at this? And this is a very common question, probably not surprisingly, right? And it's so fascinating to me. So I'm gonna hit this in a couple different ways. But first of all, let's just take a look. Can I really make a living as a coach or as a person who's out speaking with other people, sharing this understanding in some way to help them, right? That's the question. Okay, what we're sharing, like what we're looking at, it's universal. It applies to every single human being on the face of the earth equally, really. There's no one who can't feel and hear something in this conversation that could be incredibly helpful, oftentimes completely life-changing to them. So it isn't for certain people. We're not selling, violins to 80-year-old grandmothers who love to play the violin. Like, this is universal. That's really, really big. So, and what we're sharing, again, how we're sharing it is universal in that we all work in one way, and seeing that one way, that one thing we all have in common is what helps, is ultimately what helps. So who we're talking to and what we're sharing, completely universal, which means you have a really, really big market. Like as many people as there are on earth, or at least as many people as speak your language, is the size of your market. So let's be very conservative here. And let's say there's 3 billion people on earth who speak English, and those are the only people I can really help. Well, 3 billion would be your market. Okay, so we have the market. We don't have a tiny market. The need, the thing that we're helping, like what people are looking for, oh my gosh, also universal. So literally what we're doing here, what this understanding does for people is give them peace of mind, well-being. It allows them to live in their life rather than up in their head. And that's like the big picture, right? I mean, on top of that are all the things that people are saying that they want. They're not saying, I want to live in life and not in my head. They're saying, I want to quit drinking. I want to quit, screaming at my kids all the time, or losing my temper at work, or whatever it might be, being depressed, feeling anxious, having this phobia, whatever that might be. So above what I'm saying is all the things that your 3 to 8 billion people in your market are saying they want and need. Every single one of those filters down into exactly what this conversation does for people. There is not a person on the face of this earth that would not say that they do not want to feel more at home in their own lives. Again, they don't go out and market yourself in that way, because that's not great. They wouldn't use that language. That's not what they think they're looking for, but it is what every single human being literally alive wants, is greater peace of mind, groundedness, like just a feeling of security, kind of knowing how things work, so that when life happens, because life's going to happen to all of us, when crazy stuff in life happens, we can be with that life stuff with greater ease, not feeling so thrown and not feeling like a victim of circumstance quite so much. What happened to my light? There it is. Okay, so we have the market, we have the need, I mean, again, the need and the market are pretty much everyone on earth for the most part. The offer. So you might say, sure, everyone on earth wants to feel better, and they could all be touched by this because what we're sharing touches all of that. But I don't know, does this really work? Like, is it really make a difference? Is it really going to do anything? And I speak about this all the time, but I spoke about this more in the first conversation that we had last Wednesday about the one thing that can help anyone with anything. And really what it comes down to is specifically for people, if you are a coach, helper of any type, or want to be, and you want to come from this understanding, you want to help, meaning you want to not help people rearrange their psychology and have a new mindset and see things differently or make their lives go better or achieve a goal. You're going deeper than that. Again, all those things happen, but you're going deeper than that, and you're wanting to point to people toward who we really are, who we are fundamentally as human beings, and how we work and where our experience comes from. No one is doing that in the world. I mean, relatively speaking, right? Again, we're talking about almost 8 billion people on earth. Very, 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 very few of us, relatively speaking, are pointing in this direction in order to help people. It is tiny. So it's like, we have the most gigantic market you can imagine, and you have the least competition that you can imagine ever. There is no competition. There really isn't. Now, I get it. You belong to a lot of Facebook groups, and people are talking about this, and it can look like there's a lot of competition. The world is a lot bigger than our Facebook feed or our email inbox or our little neighborhood or whatever it is, So again, I know it can start to look like that, but oh my gosh, it's the opposite. We can help anyone with the one problem that everyone has, or the one thing everyone wants is more peace of mind and just to feel like at home in their own lives. And no one else is pointing in this place. It's like, I mean, you should, I won't say you should, I was going to say you should bet everything on this. You shouldn't bet everything on it. But honestly, I mean, it is, if you just look at that, it's like, wow, you couldn't design a better setup for going out and being able to help people and being able to make a good living for it, being paid well for what you do. Because why you have to be paid well for what you do, or else you can't do it for long. So sit with that for a sec. Now, I want to mention a couple obstacles that people think are in their way all the time to making a living at this. The first one is specific to sharing from this new paradigm. And it's when people say all the time, well, this is so new and foreign and people don't get it. And everyone I talk to is looking for therapy, or everyone I talk to is looking for tools and strategies. And how do you sell people on just having a conversation? No one really wants this or gets it. I used to think that in the beginning a little bit. I mean, it's true that this is different. Again, I just said that. That's like our greatest asset, I think. But it's true that this is different in a lot of ways. And that when people have a busy mind, they sometimes want to grab at something to do. So sure, that's how we've been sort of conditioned. That's what people have been feeding us forever. Busy mind, do this, buy that, right? It's like, that's sort of the setup. But I cannot say enough about how often, like every single day, I just start to point toward these deeper truths with someone who maybe knows absolutely nothing about this and wasn't looking for this. They just want to get out of some kind of specific suffering. And they hear this. Like, this lands with them. Now, sure, maybe they're going to be very familiar and quick to pull out their wallet and buy some 5-step strategy because it's just familiar and they don't feel good. But that's not what we want to do. Like, that's horrible. Like, we don't want to just be one of those people. We want, and I don't mean that they're bad intentioned. I don't mean that at all. I believe everyone is pointing to the deepest place they see to point and doing the absolute best they can. What I'm saying is, for the coaches and people who are kind of newer at this, thinking that they need to follow the crowd and do what the mainstream is doing or sound mainstream so that they'll get clients, consider that just the opposite is true. Really, consider that it is it is the best thing in the world that you're different, that you point to a different place. And trust me, I had the same concerns until I saw every single day, multiple times a day, that I was dead wrong. That pointing here lands with people. They respect it. They resonate, like something resonates. They want to hear more. Across the board, 100% of the time, no, but that's not going to be for anything. For sure, people are going to say, this is not familiar, I'm going over there. But that's going to be the case in any business and anything you do in life, right? So by and large, people hear this, and when they hear it, it's incredible what starts to open up. That I think when you're pointing to a more shallow place, or a place that doesn't get to the essence of things as much as this conversation and this paradigm does, then, there's just like, they get a little excited maybe in the beginning because it sounds hopeful and familiar, but it doesn't stack up over time. And this does. This is the only thing I've ever found that gets better in time. That the more you see, the more you want to see, and the more you keep exploring, and the more it keeps opening up for you over time. So that's one of the big concerns I think a lot of people have, that leads them to think, oh, I don't think I can make a living at this. Another one is around, like this whole, where do I find clients? Like there's a whole bit in there that can feel like we need, like now we're hunters. We need to go out and hunt these clients down and convince them to give us their money and all of this kind of stuff. And there's many people that speak to that, like my friend Steve Chandler, many other people that speak to that and help people with that in really amazing ways. But I just want to point out that's just some thinking that we sometimes have. So that has zero to do with out there. And it has everything, as everything does, it has everything to do with in here. Meaning when we are feeling like everything's scarce and there's lots of lack and I'm not sure I'm good enough and are they going to like me and it's all about us, that's what I just said is just the way it's going to look. It's going to look and feel like you need to go out and hunt and gather these clients and drag them back to your lair and convince them to have a nice life. And when you start to see that as a bunch of thinking, like when that starts to fall away, oh my gosh, a whole different picture of this emerges, a whole different side of this. It honestly is like, wow, again, I have something, and it's not like it's about us, but we have seen something that there's like no one else is really pointing to. We know it's helpful, and we've seen how deep it goes, and we've seen the miracles that don't even look like miracles anymore because they happen all the time. Like we're just so connected with that it truly feels like an offer. Like, hey, I have this to offer you. Are you interested? And when people aren't interested, that's totally fine because you have another 2.99999 billion people to go talk to. Really. I mean, it just, the abundance in this, rather than the scarcity and the lack and the it's hard, it completely begins to flip. One, when you really see how big this is and start to see, again, that the market, the offer, and the need are gigantic, so we're in a great business. And two, when we start to see, oh, anytime it feels hard or like I need to drag them in or anything like that, that's my thinking. That has nothing to do with them. It's just a screen of habitual conditioned thought showing up in me that looks real, period. When you see that, huge things open up. There's kind of a third, but I want to cut this short. But the third one I think that I hear often, and I felt this for a long time, is the confidence piece. And again, I spoke to this on the last video a little bit more, but people saying, okay, yeah, I get it. I see that there's this great market and there's not a lot of competition, and that we can help people so much, and that we don't, that there's people everywhere that want this and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not good enough to do it. Like Amy can make money at it, and these people over there can make money at it, but I can't. I'm not good enough at it yet, or I'm not good enough at all. And the biggest thing to see around that, again, is it's not about us. The whole next video that I'll talk about next Wednesday is on a similar topic, but when you're like, I'm not good enough in my confidence, there's one of two things happening. One is maybe you need to get some training. Like, I think that's a great, helpful, wise thought at times when you're like, ooh, I don't know if I'm worth that. I don't know if I have that kind of impact. Well, if you want to have that kind of impact, then just get better at what you do. Like we would say to anyone, right? If you're not sure your ability to give someone highlights in their hair, go back to beauty school and take some classes and just get better at it. It's that simple. So that's a big piece of it. The other piece is seeing, you know what, like if you feel like you're adequately trained and you know what you're doing and all that good stuff, and you're still feeling like you don't have this confidence, well, you're in there too much. Like, it's not about you. My ability to coach people well and my confidence, and I have a ton of confidence in this, like more confidence than I have in coaching than I ever have in any area of my life. And still today, I mean, it is the one thing that I know that I can do well. And the thing about it is it has nothing to do with me. If it had to do with me, I would not have that level of confidence. It's not like, oh, I'm awesome at this. It's like, no, I am just so blessed to have seen how human beings work, and I know where to look and where to point. That's it. And so that has nothing to do with me, which means it has nothing to do with you, which means this is available to all of us. It's just seeing this in such a way that you're like, I see. This is why it gets me into trouble, because people email me questions. This is how Ask Amy started. People email me questions all the time, and I see where to point them. Not because it's, anything special about me, but again, because we're so simple. Human beings we work in a universal way, and we are incredibly simple. So you just start to see that everywhere. And that to me is real confidence. It's not personal confidence, but it's what a deep grounding really gives us. So I hope this is helpful. I hope it helps you kind of see this, can I make a living at this thing, in a different way. There's so many offshoots of this question, so many places we could go with this. But the bottom line is, that what we're sharing is universal, it's unique, it applies to everyone, and in one way or another, everyone wants it. There's absolutely no reason we cannot make a good living at this. If you aren't, you have some thinking in the way that looks real, and hey, join the club. So do I, and so do all of your clients. So we just kind of look in that direction, but especially today, there are so many ways to just go out there and start helping. And I think that is ultimately the way that we grow a business. I don't want to get into that whole conversation, but so many ways right now. You can do this. You don't have to do this. You can go talk to somebody down the street from you right now, wherever you live. So many ways to just start to share what you've seen. And you'll find the people that want to hear more about it, because there are a whole lot of them. So thank you so much for listening to this long Change Coach conversation number 2. Meet me back here next Wednesday, and we'll talk about how your clients' change is totally why you do this, but it's not up to you at all. You play a much smaller role in that than you may think. So we'll talk about what seeing that opens up for people. If you want to check out the first conversation, if you missed it, I'll put a link to it here. I'll also put a link to, in the comments, all of the upcoming topics, because there's some really great juicy ones. And if you have any suggestions for topics, things you'd want to hear about as a coach or practitioner, put them there in the comments, and I will speak to them. So have a great week. See you soon.